KK, thanks for being mic'd up, hooked up, working the 1 and 2s. Is it? I'll cut this like out a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, it works. We hear you.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
It came through.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Yep.
What?
She did just.
I got to talk into the microphone. I can't hear you.
She did just.
I
Slam.
said I also need to buy a couch.
You also need to buy a couch. Big questions here on It Comes in Waves. Big, big questions. But no, like I said, Micah was in here, and being around people like you and Micah, it just, I feel like brings out the best like parts and versions of me.
Yeah.
And so thank you for, hearing him out.
Yeah.
And then coming out.
Yeah.
And then doing it the first time. And then I knew after that coffee, I was like, we're hooked. It's solid now.
Yeah, no, we're synced, man. Like,
yeah,
it's going down. We're about to build.
Yeah,
people don't know. Like, we just really had a very lengthy. I've been here for already an hour and a half, bro.
For real?
I've been here for an hour and a half, and we're just now starting the podcast. It's
my bad.
I mean, but like that's how much we've been vibing. So
yeah,
it
didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the key part of this thing here. It's that, yes, we're building, but it's like we're not building for, like, selfish, superficial reasons or whatever. It's just about that giving spirit. Like, it's, I don't know, I describe it like an essence, like a soul essence. It's like you can tell the vibe. It's like a color, like, ooh, it's red. Like, this guy's negative intentions. It's like, it's yellow, It could be the shirt. It could be seeing the shirt.
I think, man, history is repeating itself. I think that, like, we as humans, didn't we start as like a bartering system? Like, we didn't have money and currency. We had cows and land, and that's how we kind of like bartered things.
Right.
But then,
KK, are you working the buttons? Oh. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I'm like, what are you doing?
I need to send this text quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What do the buttons do?
So it switches the cameras for me, so it cuts it live. So it probably was just on me for the last like minute or so, but that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that KK's rocking and rolling.
It's all good.
Before you were like, and this is it, and it's just me going.
Mm-hmm.
But no, and I'm glad that we have to set it up, but we've kind of have this outline, and I think everything happening in July. Like, it's July 4th, by the way. Happy 4th of July.
4th of July. Somebody's blowing something up somewhere.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. It's KK. It's her phone. She's got to send this text immediately. But it's a privilege. Yeah. So I appreciate you, the charity, the one community, and teaching KK Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah. We're about to get KK trained up because she just told me this crazy story. Like 20 minutes ago about, for one, she was followed in a park. Which,
creepy people.
That's scary as heck. And like, so me and you were saying, like, that's not something I have to worry about. That's not something you have to worry about. But coming out of her mouth, sharing that with me, I felt like emotionally attached and like upset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Every time I hear it, I'm like, who is it?
Yeah. And then she tells me about this balcony story where she, she's on the 3rd floor. She's got her doors all locked. But then at 4 a.m, she hears someone coming in there. And, like, then they leave. They close the door all silently. Like, what the heck? Like, I'd be freaked out.
They didn't even take anything.
And
I had to call the cops because
they are very good burglars.
So we got to get KK trained up in Jiu Jitsu. Immediately.
Well, and I was going to say, we didn't even ask you, KK, when you think of Jiu Jitsu, like you said, oh, it's a good workout, right? And I'm like, that's not the idea that women usually have a good idea about Jiu Jitsu, and men are like, that's kind of gay. Like, we're touching each other and rolling around. You have a very positive mindset. You were like, sure, I'll try it.
Yeah.
And I really think it's, like I said, it's more beneficial than if I equipped you with like a little pistol. You have a little purse.
That's the worst idea.
Yeah.
KK just goes full on. She has the 2.
And I still felt scared. Because I don't want, like, when it comes down to it in a situation like that, like, I don't want to be even put into a situation where I would have to use something like that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Plus the trauma after. Yeah. I just shot someone. I just tased someone. They pooped their pants.
Yeah.
Like, it's a terrible
yeah,
thing.
people don't realize, man, even if you do protect yourself with the gun, like, you're going to run into severe consequences afterwards.
Yeah.
Whether that be the cops getting involved or, like you said, the traumas afterwards of seeing someone's life ended, right?
Yeah.
Like with jiu-jitsu, I don't necessarily have to, like, kill a person to end the confrontation. I can control them. I can, put them to sleep. But they're going to wake up totally fine in a couple seconds.
Yeah, but by then, 30 seconds later, they're like, "Where's the girl in the park?"
Yeah.
She's gone.
Yeah.
It's a very safe thing. And like you said, when I hear that for you as your brother, and I'm not there, and again, I can't even tell. Like, when I'm with you, like, and we're doing something, it's not that I'm not looking, but I'm also not aware. And you're like this. You're like, there's a guy 2 aisles over. He's walking this way. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And so it makes me feel a little bit better to know that, one, I'll have to level up my game so that way you don't choke me out.
Yeah.
Because it keeps me consistent. And then I thought it was the coolest thing that we could, like, document it together.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really cool.
Good promotion for one community, good promotion for,
KK's brand that she's building.
Yeah.
Young KK herself.
She reminds me of Lorsenko.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Blonde,
Yep.
good announcement voice.
Yep.
We have a podcast mic hooked up to her.
Yep.
But
definitely a target on the streets, so we got to get that fixed.
Yeah, I've seen Laura roll with some, like, high-level guys, and of course, she's awesome because she goes, yes, this is a very strong, dominant UFC fighter. He is not going 100%, but he's also, like, trained. He's higher than me in the belt rank. But they're rolling, and they're doing it, and she's just, feeling it out. And I'm like, man, what a killer.
Yeah,
like,
she's right there with them.
I think it's good that also when we talked about equipping it into the school system, it's like, that's not, okay, boys only jiu-jitsu. It's like, both of you guys are going to do this.
Yeah.
Because some of these, not to be cynical, but some of these boys in here, we don't know.
Yeah.
So you got to protect yourself at all times. Your walk's different than his walk. And I think that's very crucial, especially at a young age when you develop the consistency and then also a skill. And then when those merge together, I feel like you get that birth of hard work, determination, and all the good positive benefits and positive emotions out of children, not the negative ones.
Yeah. That's pretty much the whole idea behind One Community Jiu-Jitsu Club is to kind of instill the jiu-jitsu into our American culture from a young age so that, maybe we can reduce some of these school shootings and these fightings in schools, these misunderstandings in our communities between neighbors, really. I came on here last time and just spoke about how KCK is the number 55th ranked city as far as diversity, and there's a lot of misunderstanding between the different cultures that are here. It's like someone who's white and grew up, pretty well off is not going to understand the walk of life of someone who's Hispanic and had to, come on a train to get here.
Right.
It's just
very, very different. Yeah.
Right. It's just they won't really understand each other, and so for us to put these people in the same room in a vulnerable position for an hour a day, multiple times a week, and they can have these candid conversations, you get a lot of understanding, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea behind putting this activity into the school system.
Yeah.
Is trying to help these different communities understand each other.
Yeah. And you also develop, I noticed that as I'm doing this or like, you create a group and that group is really strong. So like not in a physical sense, but like if something terrible happened to me, I know that I have like 20 people who are like, what's up?
Yeah.
And they're people who care about me in this community setting. And they also are people who can get the job done if it came down to it, who are also just there for my well-being. And so good to have that for a young lady like yourself.
Yeah. Honestly, One Community Jiu-Jitsu Club is a great proof of concept of the whole theory. It's just like, dude, right now, just last week we had to close down because it's 97, 100 degrees in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have air conditioning in our space. Well, I've now had people reach out to me wanting to help with that issue. Put a window unit in our space, like physically install it or pay for it to be installed. And I'm like, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, right? Like that's like you said, if I need help, I now have a community of people willing to help. And that's, I mean, my guy Scott doing the graphics for Mayor Gardner. Like, there's
Scott.
Shout out, dude. Like, I cannot do this alone. And I think, jiu-jitsu really embodies that theory.
Right.
This is a side note to that, but I've been interviewing for like behavioral health, like tech jobs at like psychiatric hospitals and such. And I interviewed it's in KCK. It's called, I think, Camber Mental Health Hospital. They just changed the name. But I interviewed there, and it very much, like, the guy that interviewed me, he reminded me so much of you, actually. And, like, all of the questions he was asking me, he was like, whenever we sat down, he was like, I just want to be up front with you and tell you, like, what you're getting yourself into, like, and, like, where these, like, kids come from and everything. And I was like, I totally understood, like, where he was coming from, but I also was like,
that's why I need the help.
Yeah.
This is like, and that's going to be your typical Wyandotte County response.
Yeah.
It's like, we're like, are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
And because the uphill battle is really intense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I'm so glad that we're doing this again, because I had a few things that I wanted to talk about when we left.
For sure.
And I forgot them already. What's on your list, bro?
Well, for me, and you could just say that I'm not the wisest, but you said you had Crohn's disease. Mm-hmm. What is that?
Yes. Let's talk about that. So Crohn's disease it's a gastrointestinal disease. It's it's not contagious. It's an inherited disease, and what it is your white blood cells are attacking your intestines, and it's inflammation in your intestines from those attacks. Dang. So it's pretty gnarly, bro. So when I was 14, 2 years into my foster care stint, my uncle Dwayne, rest in peace, he was in the process of taking me and my two sisters down to Texas, but somewhere along those lines, I started like dropping weight like tremendously. Like I was a fat kid, like a fat kid, bro. And so, but when I was my mother lost her parental rights when I was 12. When I was 14, I mean, I was 200 pounds easy. But then I started losing weight. Like I was probably 110 pounds within 6-month period of time.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so my teachers at the school that I was going to noticed it the most. I honestly, dude, this whole time is a blur to me.
Right.
Like, honestly, like even kind of revisiting it right now, I almost have to like bring back up little memories. Like, dude, I remember sitting on the toilet, like literally shitting blood, bro. Like,
oh, no.
And vomiting at the same time.
Oh,
I'm a teenager, right? Like, don't even know what's happening. Don't necessarily know how to like express it because
who are you gonna go to?
Right, like when you're in the bathroom, bro, like that's your alone time. That's you, right? That's all you. And so here I am, like this foster kid. I'm living with my uncle and my aunt, and I'm with my sisters and my cousin, and like they noticed that like. My flatulence had gotten a lot worse. Like it was horribly smelling. Yeah, like right. Farts were
Let's get down
terrible.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, no, we're getting into it. My flatulence was absolutely horrible, and of course, I'm a child. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what is even happening. And then, like I said, this one day, the blood from my stool and vomit, and I remember my cousin like kind of bursting into the the half bathroom that I was in, and she saw that the blood and stuff and was like, oh, this is kind of gnarly. So they took me to the ER. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. One of them was like, yeah, I think he's just depressed because, he's in foster care, can't go home to his mom, which kind of looking back, at the time, we was like, oh, that's bullshit. Like, there's something physically wrong with this kid.
You have very bad smelly gas.
Yeah.
You're depressed.
Yeah.
That's who gave him a doctor?
But, but low key, like, because, last time we were talking about childhood ACEs.
Oh, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? So, sure, I was depressed.
Yeah.
And maybe that anxiety and depression, that flight led to this physical disease.
I guess they are tied together, aren't they?
You know what I'm saying? And like, that's where, so living that life, bro, like, again, not knowing anything. This was 2001. I just didn't really understand like what was happening to my body. So they took me from doctor to doctors, and this one doctor in particular finally got me diagnosed with Crohn's disease and put me on all these steroids and antidepressants and just different medicines that were honestly not working.
Yeah.
And so years, go by. I turn 18. I age out of foster care. I go to K-State, and I'm not really knowing how to manage my health.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't really given that type of guidance throughout my foster care years.
Mm-hmm.
I was just told, take medicine, right? Take medicine, and even then, sometimes I wasn't even told to take medicine, right? It just kind of go under the radar. And so 19 years old, I got this girlfriend, everything's kind of cool. But one day, I'm sleeping in her bed, and like I get this feeling like I gotta go take a dump, right? Mm-hmm. And so I go to the bathroom. I try to go take a dump, and nothing's coming out. Like nothing's coming out. And I'm like, all right. And this goes on for days, like
nothing for days.
And it'll be like every hour I get this this cramp. The feeling where you gotta. Everyone has that feeling.
I've been there.
You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like I gotta go, and like nothing's coming out. And then so by day 3, nothing was coming out down there, and so it started coming up, bro. It started I started vomiting my waist.
Oh no,
bro! Like the trippiest shit. Sweating, like basically like different color. Like my skin's tone's different, so my friends were like, "Dude, we're taking you to the ER."
Yeah.
The roommates I was living with 8 other dudes, at this time. Yeah. Shout out to my man David Grubb for giving me a ride, dude. Because again, I didn't even have a car. Like I didn't have transportation. Here I am, like literally about to die.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Right. Yeah. Not even that, dude. Nothing was coming out. Like I couldn't. No farts. No shit. Nothing. And so
it's so trippy and weird,
bro. Like, yeah. And so I get to the ER. Doctors, they do the CAT scan, and they're like, "Yeah, you have an obstruction. Your intestines is basically closed."
Oh.
And so I'm like, well, what? And again, I'm 19 years old. I don't even know what that means, dude. What are you saying? And so they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to cut out this infected portion of your intestines. And I'm like, I really don't have a choice,
Oh my god!
I don't even know what my choices are. So I'm like, literally, like the surgeon's talking to me. I'm crying, because the dude's talking about cutting open my torso and taking out my intestines.
Oh my gosh!
And again, no parents next to my bedside. No one making these decisions. It's like I had this girlfriend who is long gone now. This girlfriend, she was there at the time, but like I had her to kind of console me. But outside of that, man, there wasn't really any kind of support. Let's go through the surgery. Toughest time of my life. It was right around Thanksgiving. Got the giant scar in my intestine or in my abdomen, and yeah, man, I I don't know necessarily what got me through those times, but that is definitely part of my story because, I mean, I'm a black man living with a disability.
Yeah.
You know, if you go fill out a job application and they ask you if you have any disabilities, Crohn's disease is on that list of disabilities.
Oh, well, I did not know that.
Yep. And again, you know, not necessarily patting myself on the back, but trying to set a good example, lead by example, right? And that's just not saying to people that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you can't be of value to the
right.
world.
Right. You're bigger. It's bigger than that.
You can't give your full effort every day. You know, I have people that hit me up wanting to train jiu-jitsu, but says he broke his femur when he was a kid, so he's scared. I'm like, dude, there are people with no legs that train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can do this.
Come in.
It's here.
Yeah.
It's what you want to do up here, man. Like, and then your body will follow.
It's just also another walk of life with, like, me and you, for example. It's like, if I'm sick or something's happening, mom's a nurse, right? So I'm like, well, I got to go to it happened the other day. I had heat exhaustion. I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, it was right after Justin's episode. Then I was outside for like 2 days. I thought I was drinking plenty of water, but then of course on medication. Now
I told you that you were dehydrated. No, I'm fine.
Here we go.
I said you need to drink water. You said I'm fine. I drank my body armors. I said that's not water.
And I said it has coconut water, but it's not water. And so then I'm sitting down. I'm in a cold place, but I'm still sweating, right? There's no reason. I'm dizzy. I can't really make sentences. And I'm like, Mom, I think you have to get me. And I'm like, imagine not having that. It was still scary to be like, now I have to travel like this to an ER, or like an urgent care or something.
I have that. Dude, I had that happen when my son was like 1.5 years old. Actually, it was right in the height of COVID. And I think I might have had COVID, but we didn't know it at the time.
Yep.
And so, but I was like, bro, I had these sweats. I was sick as a dog. And my wife had to go to work. And so I had to take care of my son because, everything was getting pulled. Like, we had snatched him out of daycare. Like, this was right when the pandemic was going down. And so.
Right there with you, yeah.
I was so sick, dude. But, I don't necessarily have that support system to just take my son to his grandparents, right?
Right.
Or, and so it's just like I had to take care of him still. But, like, I had a complete breakdown from that.
Yeah.
Because it just came full circle. I was like, man, I'm physically sick and I don't have the support system to help me in this situation. So, like, my mental went just straight down the drain.
Yeah.
Start feeling really bad for myself and, like, dude, pulling myself out of that was very hard because we couldn't even train jiu-jitsu at the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they were like, no one's opening.
No one's doing nothing, dude. It was like, how am I going to pull myself out of this? And, just time, I guess.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. I've always been terrified of like needles.
Yeah.
So, even then I'm like, someone needs to hold my hand. It sounds so stupid to say it at 26-year-olds. Don't give me that face, KK. Yeah. But like, it took a while. But even then I'm still like, I don't know what that's like to not have a support system. But I had a question, and I don't know if we got to it. But when your mom lost her rights, and then you got older, did you reach out?
Oh, yeah. So the dynamic when I was a child, even as a teenager, honestly, till about 22, 23 years old, that whole dynamic was I always wanted to go back to my mom. Like, through those whole years, that was my mom. Like, you couldn't tell me anything about nothing.
Yeah.
But, so I came on and told you about the loss of my little sister.
Yeah. Which we felt for a while. I mean, we were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No,
it's heavy.
I told you about that. And so, like, kind of right around that time, shortly after, because I came back to Kansas City. I was in Manhattan at the time, going to K-State.
Got it.
And, I mean, I basically left school, came came back to Kansas City with the thought of, all right, I need to be here to kind of help support my family through this time, like, and like just be here, be a presence. And so being a presence, I got to kind of see how my mom was moving still.
Yeah.
Because she had gotten out of prison by this time. She went to prison for a few years. She had gotten out of prison, and I got to see how she was moving, how she was functioning, how she was interacting with me and other people, and I did not like what I saw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a kind of a more educated man, right? 24, 25 years old. And so to answer your question, yeah, we had a relationship that has deteriorated because I realized she is not ready to help herself.
Yeah. That's always a tough thing.
Yeah. And like for me, dude, it is tough, right? Because I just told you, from 0 to 23 years old, I always wanted to go with my mom.
Yeah.
Like that was, even when I was in foster care, I had this hope, like I was going to go home to my mom. And then as an adult, when you kind of start realizing that this other person isn't necessarily someone you want to be around,
yeah,
it's kind of a hard decision to make, you know. And it was, I always tried to help. Right. I let her borrow my car like that, and she went off with it for almost a whole day. But like, it's stuff like that. So then that kind of burns the bridge, right? Like if I let you, you know, use my car to go to the gas station, don't bring it back 20 hours yet later.
Yeah,
you know
you were
what I
like,
mean?
where were you? Like the gas station,
right? Yeah,
like, no.
Yeah, come on now, like come on. So, it's just, and so yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm a grown man. I got my own life that I'm trying to build. I'm not gonna let someone else drag me down.
Right.
And it felt selfish to make that decision, but it also felt liberating and unselfish, because how can I help you if I can't help myself? And
right.
if you're going to drag me down, I'm definitely not going to be able to help myself.
Right. It's like that oxygen, you know, it's like I got to do me, and then I have to distribute it to the kid. You first, then the kid when the airplane's going down. Yeah.
I can't let this drag me from doing the things that I want to do. And so I'm going to have to leave that alone. Maybe we can revisit it someday. As of right now, it's not looking very likely, man, because she hasn't done the things she needed to do to kind of reconcile that. And
it's tough. Because it's your mom.
Oh yeah, that's very hard, man. It's very hard. She had me when she was 16, so she was a young mom. But and I don't necessarily put a whole lot of blame on her as a person, but you know, going forward, I always feel like people have to put that effort in to get the change that they're looking for. For sure. I haven't seen that. Yeah. And so just as a person, I can't be around that, right?
Yeah, it's not good.
It's just not good for me. Like, I mean, I got a son that I want him to see the better things in life. I have a business and a charity I'm trying to run, and I cannot be distracted by other shenanigans.
When is he there with you? Like,
oh yeah,
all the time?
Yeah.
So dope.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, and I'll take him to meetings. Like, we went to the KCK fire department a couple weeks ago, and like I was trying to advocate for the fire department to train Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
So I just took him with me, like, because I know that would be a cool experience for him, see the fire trucks, meet some firefighters, and like, but anytime I can take him, I thought about bringing him here, but I'm like, podcast, no, 6-year-old, maybe not.
Actually, let me know, because then I'll bring Matt in.
Hey.
Because, you know, I was going to bring him here today, and I was like, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit of time. Yeah. I knew that we had some stuff that we had to kind of iron out. But it's just that thing. Like, I feel like KK had an interview, and she goes, he reminded me of you, Ray. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, yeah, that's like part of this relational cultivation of what I want my son to be around too. Yep. And it's a lot easier because, you know, I mean, it's like something I preach, and it's preached everywhere, but it's the same idea that you had for your mom, but it's usually with friends. That's way easier than if it's a mom. You know, you're like, I got to cut friends out. It's like, that's easier. They didn't birth me, you know? And so I've met people that are, you know, there's a buddy of mine who still has that thing, and it's always like every couple weeks it's like I'm not in the family, they don't like me anymore, whatever, and then it's like I think they're back in, It's like that just sucks.
Yeah. No, man. I got my whole family's kind of weird like that. Honestly, dude, low key, like I consider myself one of the only normal ones in the family. Maybe there's like 3 or 4 others, but they know who they are.
Yeah, it's like a confidence in yourself too.
Yeah.
It's like what I for me, like I said, we talked. It was Jiu Jitsu, of course. It's like built that, but I don't know. It just is this thing where when you said that, it hit me more because it was your mom.
Yeah.
And it's like you make your own family.
Yeah.
So you and your wife have a son, right? That's your family. And there's something that when me and KK talk, and we mention like eventually we'll have the Thanksgivings and we'll have the Christmas and we'll get older and do stuff.
Yep.
But it's also this like families hold on a little tighter, and they're like, what? You meet someone, maybe you get engaged. Maybe they know that you're not going to be around as much.
Yeah.
And it's like, hold up. That's like that's part of it. Like, you're a part of the family. But you're also leaving this family to make a new one to then do the same thing and replicate that.
Yep.
And that's really tough to let go. And there's a lot of emotional stuff with that. And so.
It's I always say foster care for me was it was a blessing in disguise, man. It really was. And a very, very, very tough disguise. Because, like,
You were going to say stories about foster care. You were like, I didn't get to talk about the stories.
No, it was a very, dude, like, if it wasn't for foster care, I wouldn't have made it to K-State. Like, I wouldn't have had a tuition waiver. Like, I wouldn't have been able to pay for college.
Right.
Or I wouldn't have had the experiences of going to different denominational churches and things like that. Like that, although I'm not very religious today, that is a big part of who I am.
Yeah.
I went to the youth groups and studied the Bible, and we used to have these Bible competitions where you would have to like.
I'm not. Those are hilarious, but go ahead.
Yeah. So like they'd read off a Bible script, and then you'd jump out your seat and you'd list off what the scripture verse was.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do that, as a teenager. Like I can't do it today.
I just imagine like a little plumpier Ray, just like that's John 3:16.
Big facts, literally, that was me, man. And so like I'm definitely not religious today, but I believe in the morals and ethics learned during that time. You know what I mean? So, but then I also learned that just because you're in that group don't mean you're a good person. You know what I mean? Like the foster families that was taking me to the Nazarene church, they were tyrants. Yeah. Like, have you ever been lectured by, well, yes, probably not. But so he would, like, when we would get out of school, like, I lived with my 2 sisters for a little bit at this house. And then there were 2 other foster boys who I still talk to this day. And every day after school, the man of the house, his name was Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones. Nolan Jones, his name. And he would lecture us after every school day. And when I say lecture, dude, 3-4 hours.
About what? Just anything?
Anything. And it's just, it became so much like it would be about, like, I can't even say just because it was so ridiculous. Like, he would be one thing was James would get in trouble. James was one of the foster kids. He would get in trouble for, I don't know, like maybe not raking the leaves or maybe showing a little bit of laziness in the day. Like,
men are consistent. And it's like just rail you.
And he would gather the whole like group of foster kids at this little round table, no bigger than this table, and we would sit there as he would like lecture us and like stare us in the eye like one by one, and like he had these little beady eyes that would be all weird. They go,
no!
I hate it. It just makes me weird just thinking about it right now. There would be nights where it'd be a school night. Put us in like, and we were like high schoolers, bro, and then my sisters were middle school, but like, he'd put us in like the corner for hours You know
this is like Harry Potter.
Dude, I'm not kidding you. He would put us in the corner for hours. On a school night, it'd be like midnight, 1 a.m, and then he finally like and it was always James who got it the worst. It was always James.
Dang it, James.
Yeah, no, he got it the worst. So like he'd let a couple of people go from the corner, but James, he'd stay in that corner for hours and hours. And then he had this chair that was like this chair, probably a little bit bigger. It was an old like brown chair in this dark room that he would make James sit in like for all day, pretty much. Like he just had to sit in that chair.
He would just sit in the chair all day.
He would have to sit in that chair. No one like this room had no one went in this room. It was like,
oh, this is a weird.
Bro,
this is a weird.
Like it was super weird situation. And so, and again, these are the people taking us to church every day.
Yeah.
These are the people making us. They had a church cleaning business that we were the cleaners.
Motherfucker.
Chase asked me how much I got paid.
Nothing. You got lectures. Right? That's enough.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Child labor a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because you're running a business. You're running an LLC, profitable business that's cleaning multiple churches.
Don't they get paid by each one of you?
They do. They were getting paid.
Dude.
Chase, dude, when you realize how jacked up the system is, it's like we'll never be able to fix this, almost. Yeah. And so, like, because these are the people we're entrusting with our children.
Yeah.
The children that are forgotten, the children that are lost, the children that don't know no better.
Yeah.
Like, I was that kid. Again, I didn't know that I even had the option to say that I felt that I was being mistreated.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It's also this thing where, like, so that's happening to you, right? But if they do that and you grow up and they don't change anything, they just keep this terrible idea mentality with you guys, then you make kids who then, you don't know the right decisions. Maybe you go down a bad path. You lose rights. It's just a continuing cycle of then now that next generation comes back.
Dude.
And then, oh, look, more paychecks, you know?
Dude, quite literally. That's what happened to those 2 boys that lived in that house.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't doing nearly as well as I am. And I consider myself lucky, bro. I really do, because I've seen my peers.
Yeah.
I've seen my foster kid brothers, you know.
It's terrible.
And they just didn't get the stroke of luck that I got. And I really do consider myself lucky, man. Like, I have no idea. My dude Mike, he went off to Job Corps, and something ended up happening to him where he damaged his hand. Like, he was trying to learn a trade, but he damaged his hand, and he hasn't been able to work since. So he's been on kind of like a disability of some sort.
Damn.
And then James, dude, I've heard that he's been in and out of jail just because. And last I've talked to him was probably about 2 years ago. He's got multiple kids. So, like you said, kids that are right back into the system. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how do we reverse this cycle if we're just, I don't know, man.
I mean, you're a perfect example. So I think if there's more, which is also why it was so important when we were in here the first time, about why one community was so important, not only for, because it's like current, like past, current, future. It's like currently you're helping kids who need help now. Mm-hmm. But then the future, you're helping them develop and not put more paychecks into a system that's already messed up that way. And then if they were from your past, like James and your other brother, what was his name? Mike. Then you're the example of, like, we can fix this, like, with us, right? And so it's like, it's good that with one community and you, it's that you're doing that. You're the proof of concept, if you will. And you're like, you can say it's luck, you can say it's this, whatever, but we can fix it one by one, and it's not going to happen quick. Mm-hmm. And so in order to do that, at least for me, I was like, we can weaponize. We have different ways of creating weapons. Mm-hmm. Audio's a weapon, video's a weapon, distribution of those materials is the weapon, right? And you can do it in a way that's like, buy this product, do this, and then just either a selfish manner or like for free, you can come to Jiu Jitsu with us. Yeah. Like there's a lot you can do.
Well, you know, so when I aged out of foster care, dude, like I had literally had to rely on other people to survive.
Yeah.
The first apartment that I had was with this dude. He was a friend of mine in high school, And, you know, he came from a family that was, you know, a family. Like they military family, wife, husband, couple kids. And, you know, so I moved in with him. But again, I didn't know the things that I was supposed to do on my end.
Right.
As far as being a good roommate. Like I didn't know how to hold down a job. I didn't know how to pay bills. I had no transportation. And I didn't even know how to ask those questions, right? 18 years old. So what ended up happening is that relationship ended up kind of deteriorating between me and that friend because, again, I didn't have the know-how to even be a good roommate.
Right.
So, but there were times where, like, I remember the Christmas that year, they had brought over a Cornish hen that they had made for Thanksgiving. Again, this is Christmas.
Yeah. Oh.
They put it in the freezer, this Cornish hen. And that's what I had for my, like, week of Christmas dinner. The week of Christmas dinner.
So are you saying they went to go grab it and it was gone?
No.
Or
that's what I was given. Like, that's kind of what I had.
I see.
And that's not even what I was given. That's just what was available to me at the time. That's what I ate for a week long. I would take pieces off of this Cornish hen that was already cooked 3 weeks ago.
Man.
And I had like not even Kool-Aid, the knockoff brand, you know, the one with the red and white straw. I think it's Rite Aid. I think that's the name of it, Rite Aid. And I had Rite Aid. So I had the Cornish hen for a week and Rite Aid. That's what I lived off of for a whole week during one of the coldest Decembers I ever remember. And so I had a friend, my man Adrel Ruiz. He was going to K-State at the time, and you know he figured out that I didn't have, you know, basic amenities in my apartment.
Yeah.
So it was like, dude, this was during like winter break, right? So it's December for K-State during winter break. So he's like, dude, just come over here, kick it with us for winter break, right? That turned into 6 months.
Yeah.
Like I ended up being like basically living in the dorms for like 6 months time. Bro, because again, it was Chase. I was in like full survival mode, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was not going back to that apartment with no food. No, it didn't have any internet, no entertainment, nothing. I didn't have a car. I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I'm just gonna be here with you guys.
You
know? So there was like some of the students that I was cool with. They would just kind of take care of me, bro. Like, thank God. Like this is kind of a testimonial to having just a nice support system, right? Just, being around a good group of people that I, again, up to this point hadn't experienced. You know?
Yeah.
So my dude would let me sleep on his couch every weekend, or not a couch, just his bed every weekend. And so, because he went home to Junction City, which is right down the street. He would go home on the weekends to Junction City. But during the week, while like the students would be in classes, he would sleep in his bed. But there was a girl upstairs, like a couple floors up, that had an extra bed, and she would just let me sleep in that extra bed. Her name's Felicia. Shout out Felicia if you hear
Felicia,
me.
you're freaking awesome.
No, big facts, dude. Bro, they don't understand that they legit saved my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because again, I was going through Crohn's disease. Like that was during this time where my inflammation was getting bad. I didn't have any food. I didn't have any transportation, no basic amenities, and they took me in, let me eat at the Derb, the cafeteria, like on a guest pass, or I would sneak in that mug. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and again, on some survival stuff, Chase, like, dude, I don't have anything to eat. I don't have any money. Like, I guess I'm just going to sneak in here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to scoot through the back door, you know what I mean? Just so I can eat. And that's kind of what I did for 6 months. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that, Chase. In that 6 months, I learned so much about myself that not only did I gain the courage to apply for FAFSA and get my tuition waiver, right? I got accepted into K-State because I was a decent student. I got accepted into K-State, and I ended up getting my own room and board situation, right?
Incredible.
So, honestly, dude, life changing.
Yeah.
Up until then, I had no ambitions of going to college, right?
Yeah, you were just there hanging out in survival mode.
Quite literally in survival mode. Like, how am I going to get from day to day?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so this group of friends kind of instilled this idea in me to, why don't you just apply for student loans, see what happens.
Yeah.
I did it, and it literally changed. Bro, that's where I met my wife. That's where my son, and I have my son.
Oh my gosh,
You know what I'm
so
saying?
incredible. Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't have good people around, you don't have anything. Right. And I feel like Wyandotte County is kind of suffering from that.
Yeah. It's disease in its own right.
Yeah.
And I mean, thank you for walking both of us through that story, because
I know it was kind of lengthy, but
no. Honestly, this is something that drives me nuts. Because it's so quick. Everything's quick. TikTok quick, this quick, that quick, and it's like you can't boil down something that important into 20 seconds. There's no way. And so unless that shifts and you give 10 minutes to listen to this full extent, because then if that's you're like, oh dang, like maybe the people I have aren't the best. Or for me, when I hearing that story, I forget that I have always had a support system. And I'm like, you think that's just basic. Everyone should have that. Everyone has parents or this around. You're like, not necessarily. And that makes it exponentially like tougher, of course, because your story is different than mine, because I still had mom and dad, and I did have my kiddo, and of course it's rocky, and it's the whole parenting journey is just whoa. Especially if you're super, super young. But like, now I feel, I'm not trying to compare, but it's like, damn, you didn't know what you were going to eat today. I'm like, same, but like I knew I had ramen, like I knew I had, something or a job or a car that my parents had bought that was still doing decent, and, I now I'm blessed in that to see with my own eyes that, oh, we are lucky. We have things that maybe we aren't privy to yet.
I have to say this because this is what got me through that time. I watched 3 movies on repeat every day, right? And this is literally what got me through the days while I was living in this apartment.
Harry Potter 1, 2, 3. I'm in the closet.
You've probably never heard of this movie, but it's The Orderlies by the Fat Boys.
Nope.
Yep, you probably wouldn't have ever heard of that one. It's probably from like the 80s. Katt Williams, The Pimp Chronicles. And Prison Song. And you probably never heard of that one either, but it's got Q-Tip in it from A Tribe Called Quest. It's got Mary J. Blige in it. I think it's one of her first screen premieres. And
I think I can see it, I think.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. And so that movie, man, honestly was so profound that I would literally watch it every day. And so those 3 movies on repeat. It would start with The Orderlies, and then they'd go to The Pimp Chronicles. But then I always ended it with Prison Song because it had so many good messages in it about just like overcoming some adversities. Yeah. But it also had a lot of messages about the system being rigged. Yeah. Right? So, and me kind of living that literally right in real time, it really spoke to me a lot. But I wanted to give a shout out to those movies. So Q-Tip, if you see this, Mary J. Blige, Fat Joe, if you guys ever see this, you guys got me through some very troubling times.
That's our goal now. It's just gonna be like, I'm not gonna tell you. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna surprise. I already gave away one of them when I was talking today, but that would be the coolest thing ever. The things we're building, and I just imagine you're like walking into a regular day. And then you're like, oh, we're going to the studio time. We got this. It's Sunday. It's 5:30. Yeah. And then I'm just like, oh, we have something for you. And then you walk in. It's like, Q-Tip? Whoa! Mary J. Blige? Katt Williams? How are you all in the same place at the same time?
Dude, honestly, dude, I could probably recite Prison Song. Actually, I just watched it last week, just because of the nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's what reminded me to talk about it today. I was like, dude, this movie got me through so many hours.
Yeah. Well, how you met your wife there?
Yeah, K-State. So I met my wife at K-State, and we were at a picnic she was a sorority girl, or starting a sorority. And I was kind of like a frat by association.
Yeah. Are you? What is that? What's yours? Alpha. What was your frat or your fraternity?
Hold on.
She was a Lambda.
Okay. Yeah. Those ones are. Yeah. I was in Alpha Delta Pi.
Oh, okay.
Alpha Delta Pi.
Okay. And so, no, I was kind of like a frat by association with the betas. And because my friend Ruiz, who had encouraged me to get into K-State, he was a beta. And I was like, I'm thinking about it, but who's that cute Asian girl over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to holler at her. So I jumped in her DMs, and she was playing all hard to get. And, you know, but I didn't know this about you sorority girls. And maybe it's different with you. They can't really, like, while they're on, what is that? While they're like on the lead up to being in the sorority, they can't really like date.
When they're rushing?
Rushing, that's what it's called.
Rushing?
When they're rushing, yeah, they can't really be, or they have rules.
Whenever they're rushing before and then, okay, so here's kind of the process-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you, like, go through, like, sorority recruitment, which is normally, like, a week long, and they typically, we had the rule, we called it the 3 B's. You weren't allowed to, so no booze, bars, or boys. And so a lot of times they were kind of more strict until you got initiated, which that's different for everyone. So you like go through rush, and then they give you like a bid, and so it's like, oh yeah, we want you in the sorority, but so you're in, but you're not like officially in. So then you kind of go through like I
forget what that period's called.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. You're like
I have no idea.
You're like a new member.
Yeah.
And like everything was different. Like before we were initiated, we were called alphas. And so like that was like what we were. And then you get initiated, and then we were deltas.
Did they check on you? You said no booze, bars, or boys.
Oh, there'd be people looking.
Yeah, you want to hear a funny story? Actually,
yeah.
My senior year, I was recruitment chair for my sorority, so I was like the face of like the sorority at the time, and there were a lot of eyes on me. And I mean, Kansas City's big, but it's not. Yeah, it's not that big.
Yeah.
And this is my own fault, but this was like a whole week before Rush even started. But I went out with my friends, and Yard Bar posted a picture of me the day of recruitment, like in the middle of recruitment, and it was me at the bar. And they like, there's like a Panhellenic, which is like kind of like above all the sororities. They like disaffiliate for the week, and they like look after everything. And they pulled me aside, and they were like, if you can you prove that this isn't like during this time, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I got fined.
Oh my gosh,
it was not good.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
they take that stuff pretty serious. And then then there's always kind of like the rivals that's looking to kind of like tank you. Like, so the betas would always be trying to figure out who the new lambdas or the new zetas. It was zetas. Who the new zetas were going to be. And so like I remember this one day I was driving to my house, and I saw like a group of new zetas getting out of the car, and one of the older ones. So like I was like, what is she doing with all those other girls? Are they about to be like on like recruited? Are they about to get in? And like you weren't really it's supposed to be a secret.
Oh,
so of course I told my homies. I'm like, bro, you never gonna believe who I just saw get out of that car. The new batch of Zetas is coming, baby.
I thought it was like simple.
Forever ago, I dated a Fidel.
Yeah.
And they used to call it Shark Night, right?
Yeah, Shark Week. Yep.
Yeah, where like it was like when Rush was over, and so all the frats would like throw parties, and then all these new girls that are like in their sororities, they would come to it, and they're like freshly like 18, so they call it Shark Night. And
no.
Yeah, there you go, baby.
Dang, I thought it was really simple. You're just like, I want to be a part of it, and they're like, okay, here we go, and sign this or do this or pay that.
Nah, you might have to jerk a dude off. No, I don't know. I didn't do that.
So I met my wife this way, and so you just met her like by association, and then after Rush, she was just like,
so we we kind of started a little I don't want to even say flirting, because again, she wasn't trying to give her brother no play. And like, I was really upset about it. I was like, man, I'm not even gonna like pursue this girl no more. And that was like the day before she had crossed over into being official.
Yeah.
And so then the next day she invites me to their thing, their crossing, and I go. And then she gives me this big old hug and a kiss afterwards. And like, I couldn't really be blah, blah, blah doing this with you. I was like, oh, word. So I'm in.
You're like, I'm in.
I'm in. So
locked in. I'm ready.
So, we proceed to go to a frat party the next day. Yep. And I got the most drunk I've ever been. By far. Like, blackout drunk. I don't remember how I got home, but I definitely remember. I mean, I heard the stories afterwards of just following her around the room, like being belligerent, and so I don't drink like that, but yeah.
And she still stuck with you.
She still hey man, got the digits.
Hey, she saw Ray, the future. She's like, I see this, and I don't know if
I can change him.
Yeah. I'm not trying to compare. I'm trying to find a comparison between the way that like your KK, like your intuition, or like, it's not. I like to think that they see the better version of us and want to bring it out, And I was listening to Alex Hormozi talk about his wife, and he was like, I had started this business where I was doing gyms, and I would launch them, and then we had like money coming in, we were fine, but we were just starting it up, so we were still like in her basement, like her parents' basement. And he goes, then one of the guys who knew the gym owner, some association, and he had given, it was like $150,000 that he had made, and was like, yes, if you want to manage all of these and do it in a way, and he's a very comprehensive plan. He was probably 20, 21, something like that, and I said, okay, let's do it. Like, we're turning over money all over the place.
Yeah. And
he took that check, right? Now he has zero, but he's like, don't worry about it. We'll get these, like, check-ins, the returns, the sign-ups. And he said he was averaging, like, $3,000 a day or something. And as that's happening, you get kind of lost. And you're like, I'm doing this. I'm really successful. You're still young. There's a huge difference between 21 and 25.
Yeah.
And he had just met his wife, and they were, like, just dating probably 3-4 months, and then he had to contact her and then contact this guy because they were doing it together. They were both fitness people. And he goes, this dude took it all, took the $150,000, didn't do any of it, and then decided, okay, he canceled all the gyms, but all the money that had come through, so not only did he make the money on the initial offer from the check, but also got some residual. He goes, it was about $210,000 he took and ran away with. And then come to find out, he had done it before with a different business. And so he was like previously on the hook for fraud. But he had just gotten, inner worked back into a community of young kids who were athletic, and they didn't really know business, but they knew this specific model. And, and he's sitting there. He goes, we're on the bed. And I'm like, I totally understand if you just want to leave. Like, if we can call it quits. I'm not the guy that you thought or want to be with or whatever. And she grabbed him by like the face and the chin and was like, I will sleep with you in a cardboard box under the bridge.
That's so gangster.
Right? Like, he goes, it was so solid, so like he goes, I felt like I could do anything. And he, like, not an emotional guy. Like, very jacked bodybuilder, very tough. And he goes, it changed everything.
I bet.
And he's like, I think he like paused for a good amount of time on the podcast, which is like, you don't really want like dead air for a long period of time, but it just laid in the emphasis. And he goes, he just like could barely get through tears, was like, I think that's what all men want. They just want someone like that.
To know that, that like
solid.
I was actually explaining this to my wife the other day because there are things that she can do that I literally can't, but there's a lot of things that I can do that she literally can't, and I think that bothers her sometimes. And I'm like, so I'm really good at soft skills. Like I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And she tried her best to do that with one of her friends online, and it kind of came across a little bit weird. Like the friend didn't take it the right way, and so I was like, oh, I got that same Funko Pop. Khabib.
That's valuable. It's valuable.
Yeah, it is. It's like $70.
I know. Man, we become best friends.
Yeah. So she was upset about that. The message that she was trying to relate to her friend didn't come across, and I had to really explain to her, like, there are things that I can do, and because she's seen me do it. She sees me like offering advice.
Yeah, very active in people community. Yeah.
And so she tries to do it, and I'm like, well, that's not really your role. And I don't want to say this like to be mean, but like your role is to really like hold me up so that I can hold the community up. Like, because if I don't have anyone holding me up, this whole thing falls apart.
Right.
And I think like she really understood that, and I mean, I was happy to be able to actually say that. Yeah. Because, I mean, I want her to know that she definitely plays, like, a very important role in this whole situation. Like, she's the glue. She is the glue. Yeah. If she falls apart, this whole thing falls apart. And I'm like, I can't do nothing for you guys if I don't have that support for me. Yeah. You know?
And it laid into, like, my fundamental like look at things, and I was like, you know what, up until a couple years ago I don't think I really understood what relationship really was. You know, and it's not that like, you know, you can blame everything in the world, be like, I don't know, that's why we do it, but it's like I just had to look at why it wasn't working, like with others, figure it out, and then I just started diving into people who did like an hour talk about important relationships and how them and their significant other work so well. Yeah. And it was like men, you know, if there's something like Alex, for example, he's like, I'm doing this, we're doing it together, but you have a different side of this and I have this side. Yeah. And so it was so impactful to him because he goes, now I've affected you. Yeah. I've potentially ruined what you have building because we were doing it together in the same gyms. And, you know, it was just that the significant other knows that the character, whether it's there or will be there, and now he, you know, I have to get this book, but he just same mentality, give it for free. He's like, I'm already here, I don't need anything else, I just want to give as much as possible. So I think it's like either free, like on like a Kindle or something, and it's just like how I went from $1,000 left after the Fiasco. To which they pooled together, to now clearing an agency that does $100 million. Yeah, and I'm awesome. Like, whoa. Yeah. And I thought it was a gimmick, you know, like most of them would be, but I've never seen an Amazon book that has like over 50,000 5 stars. Yeah. You know, and that's he's like, that's who I was, but just not at 21. You know, it's like willing to build that together is the key. Yeah. And it's not always going to be that 50-50. Oh, yeah. Some people are going to come in and be like, listen, I only have 30 today, right, 30%. And it was a lady, actually, who was describing this. And he's like, okay, so say me and my husband, we come home from they do businesses, they come home. And he's like, listen, I only have 30. She goes, great, because I have 70. You know, it's like there's a give and a take. It's never even. It's always like
a lot of compromise. A lot of compromise. And it sounds so cliche when I say that, but the best way that I can explain this, sorry, lady, you're going to see this on the podcast.
I hope.
If you got to love your wife or your significant other, but I also think there's a little bit of hate there too. Yeah. You know? And there's a constant battle with that love-hate. My wife is notorious for just kind of being a little ditzy. And it drives me insane. Actually, just yesterday, we went and blew up fireworks with our friends, my dude TK. And so I always say when my son does some kind of klutzy stuff, the boys like his mama. I literally say that. Boys like his mama. And because, like, you know, he was trying to hold the Roman candles, and then, like, it started up here and then it gradually went down. Like he was aiming it directly at their house, like someone's house. And I'm like, boy, put it in the sky. And then like, so he freaks out. He drops it on the floor. And I'm like, boy, like his mama, you know, and that drives me insane. It drives me. I hate it. I hate it. So, like, of course I love my wife. Do I hate that portion of her and the fact that she's instilled that in my son? Absolutely.
Yeah.
The boy like his mama.
My favorite, I don't know, I think KK was too young. But do you remember the big tank that we took to Grandma and Grandpa Melody's house? And it was great grandma and grandpa in like their 90s on the porch. Do you remember this at all? And it went haywire. So we bought, you know the little tanks?
Yeah.
You light them and they go a little bit and then they fire one direction.
Mm-hmm.
We saw one, but it was bigger. Cool. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I want that. It was like $40. This was a multi-stage, different mobile rocket. You need to move it like out
of there. Yeah.
We're like the studio length is like, here's like where we're sitting. And it's like down a little hill, and then we just had fireworks so you could see. We put this tank here, light it, it moves, and then it starts firing this way. We're like, cool, yay, right? Well, the top part has a turret.
Oh.
And aims right at the porch.
Oh, my goodness.
And it has different stages, and it starts launching essentially Roman candles at Grandma's house. And Grandma and Grandpa, their great-grandma and Grandpa, they're like 91, 89, like old. And they're just like, getting bombed, and you can just hear it.
Oh my god!
Pink, 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 hitting off the like by him. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I remember they just very slowly, just like, oh no, like lean out of the way. And I remember my dad. Dad is just losing his marbles because he's a safety freak, safety guy, and so he's not gonna walk into the fire of the cannon. And it went on for way longer than it should have, and it's just like duck and cover. Everyone's going, and I'm just like 12, like, what am I doing? I'm trying not to walk around. And then it's over. Nope. Backwards, and starts shooting at the back. And that's where we're standing. So it's like everyone gets bombarded, and everyone was fine, right? No one got hurt, thankfully. But that's my all-time favorite July, like 4th of July story.
Memory. Yes, that's good.
And, they lived quite a good amount of time after that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I gave them a heart attack, you know. But I like that we can come in here and have like a deep discussion. Because even just the things that we talked about, like I feel relationships are important, but they're not really talked about in an honest, open manner. I feel like struggles that are hard for individuals to communicate, that you have a good opportunity like to demonstrate and show with this, is I think more vital than ever. Yeah. And the more that we get the pleasure of being here, but hearing it and seeing it is more the reason why I even started this in the first place. Because it's like, if I get to like have it, that's selfish. But if others get to take something from it, well, that's beneficial.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's honestly the whole reason we're going to be doing more of this.
Yes.
Be on the lookout for a One Community Jiu Jitsu Club podcast.
I'm really excited for it too. And I the more that we were talking and building it, I was like layering these things, like outlines of things that would be both of those things. It's like, excuse me, a little gassy today. A little gassy today. But it's that emotional like relevancy of importance, but also like it could be just as simple as a shrimp move, feet on hips. And it's practice, it's replayed, it's the thing that I remember going into MMA Jiu-Jitsu and being like, this series again? Like we already did this, I know this. And it's like sometimes you have to hear the basics again.
Yep. Sometimes you'll see a detail that you just missed that first time or the second time. Honestly, dude, there's details I find out about like triangles or arm bars, and I do those like every day. Yeah. But it's still like it trips me out every time. I'm like,
are you guys there tomorrow?
Yeah. Come on through, bro. You too, KK.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Come on through.
Because do you have is it gi on Thursday or is it no gi?
It's gi on Wednesdays, but we got some learners. I'll give you guys some learners.
I think it'd be cool to set up a camera and film that, and we could like do some stuff.
I think that'd be real cool too.
I have to go to the studio tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Okay.
Cool.
I'll be there at least because you're making me. I never got to like feel the success of really locking in something on someone that had some experience.
Yeah.
And it's like I never reached that, and I'm like, I really want that.
Yeah.
It's really easy. No offense to people who have no idea what they're doing or have less experience than you.
Yeah.
But it's like when there's someone who's up there, you really have to put in time and set things up.
Yeah.
Which is the tough part that I've found a lot.
Honestly, I don't know if it feels good.
What?
Submitting people never feels good to me.
No?
I don't know. I'm kind of a weird jiu-jitsu player. Like, I really emphasize the control. Sure, I'll get a submission if it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I always feel bad.
Yeah. You nicest.
I always feel like, oh, man, I just hurt my friend.
You should just tell him. Be like, I'm going to go for a triangle.
And I literally always say sorry. Pretty much, sorry, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's the perfect way to... I think it's all around great, but... Yeah, I really just... Now that I got to work with Kendrick yesterday and, like, now that the time's opening, I'm like, I got to get back into the stuff that really built my foundation.
Actually, I choked Mason a couple weeks ago, and I felt so bad.
Pillow?
Well, granted, he was, like, working his ass off.
Yeah. I understand that.
He was doing, like...
That came out wrong. I'm not saying that, like, you couldn't submit Mason. No. I'm just saying that, like...
Well, he was doing, like, the 2-minute rounds against... He was training for the Daylon fight.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, Loon's foot.
And so, I mean, he was dead tired.
Yeah.
And, like, I got on him, and, like, I jumped on his neck, and I'm like, I feel so bad, because my man just had another dude do, like...
Same thing.
You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, I feel you.
Anyways.
But he'll get better. He's one of those guys.
Oh, yeah, Mason's
you know,
cold-blooded, man. I love that dude.
But, yeah, no, I'm excited to do this on a regular basis.
Yeah, man. You guys will see more of me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, KK. Thank you again.
Boom, boom.
You want to say anything to the people?
Of course.
Miss Alpha.
I don't have anything to say. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Boop, beep,
Yeah.
do beep, boop.
All right, we'll see you later.